Welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing today? Today, I wanted to discuss the FBA and descendants of slaves. But before we start, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share the video. Now, let's get into this. What is the FBA? The FBA stands for Foundational Black Americans, i.e. African Americans, and they're looking for reparations and compensation from the US government. This is applicable to the descendants of slaves. Why is this an issue? This is an issue because not everyone that calls himself an FBA or African American is a descendant of slaves. Some people are third generation American and not a descendant of slaves. There are also descendants of slaves that helped build America but went back to Africa when they received their freedom. So there are descendants of slaves from America that still reside in Africa. There are freed slaves that went back to Africa and tried to reinforce colonization on the indigenous Africans that were still in Africa. If you notice, the Liberian flag has the American stars and stripes. Between 1820 and 1864, only 11,000 African Americans emigrated to Liberia. 4,000 freed blacks and 7,000 former slaves who gained freedom by agreeing to emigrate to Liberia. The significance here is not in numbers but in the meaning that Liberia held for African Americans in the 1800s. They didn't just go back to Liberia, they went back to Nigeria, Sierra Leone and other West African countries. In order to gain their freedom, they had to emigrate back to Liberia. Most Americans of African descent were not enthusiastic to abandon their homes in the United States for the West African coast. Slaveholders in the South opposed having free blacks in their states, as they believed the free people threatened the stability of their slave societies. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, was among those who proposed colonization in Africa, relocating free blacks outside the new nation. From the beginning, the colonists were attacked by indigenous peoples whose territory this was, such as the Malinke tribes. In addition, they suffered from disease, the harsh climate, lack of food and medicine, and poor housing conditions. This was just an example to show that there are slaves in America that were freed and went to Liberia. So in turn, there are descendants of slaves that are in West Africa today. Are they entitled to compensation for being a descendant of American slaves? Some descendants went back to America after their ancestors was in Africa from America. I think all descendants of Africans need to bridge the gap, meet each other halfway and find a common ground. It's for the greater good for black people. Now, that's progress. I'm going to put links to this information in the description box below. And that's all for today, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share the video if you like this content. Here endeth the lesson. And remember, you are handsome, you are beautiful, you are worth it. Code Zainab, over and out. Mwah.